can be hard. There's lots of weeds and it's just difficult sometimes. But what we've found is sometimes if you just go out on your land, you can find all kinds of crazy stuff to eat. Be careful, because if you pick the wrong stuff, it can make you sick. But if you pick the right stuff, I mean, it's nature's bounty and you don't even have to work for it. So here we have a ton of this invasive little plant on our property. They're called autumn olives. And they're very prolific. We make jam out of them. They taste amazing. Be careful, because there's other species that look somewhat similar that will make you sick. These ones have little white spots on it. So I don't know if you can see the berry. They're kind of an oval berry with white spots. There's lots of apps that you can find for identification. Google things, make sure you're eating the right thing. But these are high in vitamin E, vitamin A, and C. There's a pit in the middle, but like I said, you use a strainer, you can make a great jam out of it. The other thing we have a ton of is sumac. So right over here, these sumac berries, again, these sumacs have taken over a lot of our land, but these berries, you can use them in spice. You can actually make like a sumac lemonade out of them. My mom used to pick them on the nature trails and make tea out of them, so because she had a brown thumb and couldn't grow a garden, so she taught us how to harvest weeds. Another thing we found on our land was a bunch of chokecherry trees that are huge. So we looked it up to see if they were actually producing something edible, and lo and behold, they are. So we have, the red ones aren't ripe, they're black cherry. We just put a sheet on underneath, shake the branches, it'll fall into the sheet, and we're planning to make jam with them. They're a smidge bitter, so jam is a good option. But otherwise my kids will just eat them because they don't care. So because the trees are on our land, it's easy to kind of identify them throughout the season. So in the spring, they had, these stems were full of white flowers. So we could take the look of the flower, the look of the leaf, the look of the bark to kind of get a general picture of what we were dealing with. And then obviously we have little cherries that have come up. So it's nice to have a few different ways to identify and make sure that what you're eating is actually edible and what you think you're eating. These cherries are high in antioxidants, flavonoids, vitamin C. So really it's a nutritious snack. Learned that in the midst of your garden, a weed is just a plant that you didn't want there, but we have edible weeds like within our garden. They just grow. So even if your garden is overrun by weeds, when I was a kid, my mom couldn't garden. She would plant a garden and weeds would grow, and so she sent us all out foraging in our weeded garden. Our garden full of weeds, not weeded, and we ended up having a bountiful harvest of weeds. So lamb's quarter is another thing that is prevalent in my garden. It was said to be named after it because it's like as nutritious as a leg of lamb, is what the wives' tales say. I mean, this little thing is filled with all kinds of goodness. The whole plant is edible actually, so it makes it easy. It'll usually have, when it's new, has kind of like that white powdery dusting on the leaves. When I was a kid, you just pluck the leaves off and it's essentially a spinach substitute. So you can eat it as a salad, you can throw it in your pasta, and it's quite nutritious. And in my garden, it's quite prevalent. Another thing we found growing in our gardens this year, and it will actually grow in the yard as well, is purslane. It's actually really high in omega-3s, so it's just another added benefit of bringing the wild in. You can weed it out of your garden, or you can just say, hey, we have yet another little plant to eat at the end of the day. Sorrel was our favorite growing up. It has little heart-shaped leaves and then yellow flowers if it goes to flower. It actually tastes like sour apple candy, so we loved to find it and pick it and eat it. It's high in vitamin C, and all of the plant is edible, so you can use the flowers or whatnot. But my favorite is the leaves. A few foraging safety tricks is make sure you know what you're eating, 100% sure, because there are some really dangerous lookalikes. Make sure you know where you're eating it from, because if you're eating it from a lawn, like dandelions from a lawn that has been treated, or next to the road, it can make a safe plant not so safe, because you're ingesting all those chemicals. And also make sure your kids know that you need to identify the plant, not just them, so that they don't go picking random plants thinking that everything's edible. So hopefully this inspires you to get out on your land and see what freebies your land has given you. sometimes they can just grow like that and you can have a good time eating weeds.